Hello gamers and welcome to a standard Temur Affinity video. Today we're taking a look at the Temur Affinity deck in standards. How does this deck work? Well, first off we have our main engine pieces. These are Pinnacle Emissary and Ravenous Robots. Both of these cards, each time we cast an artifact spell, make a 1/1 artifact token. We want to make a bunch of tokens with this as early as possible. How do we do this? Usually by playing on turn 1, playing Springleaf Drum, Gene Pollinator or Lady Octopus. So you can turn 1 play one of these, turn 2 play one of the token makers, and then after that, depending on the token maker, make a couple of tokens. With Pinnacle Emissary we have to warp it. We lose the Pinnacle Emissary itself until we recast it from exile. But on the bright side, it does make 1/1 flyers instead of 1/1 ground creatures. And we can just recast it later. What artifacts do we use to trigger these token makers? Well, of course, with the Pollinator and the Drum themselves, they are tokens, they're artifacts, as are the Emissary and the Ravenous Robots. But we also have a couple of Mox Jaspers as free artifacts. We don't have any dragons in the deck, but hey, pretty cool. Just free, make a couple of 1/1s. Fugitive Droid, this is relevant for future cards in the deck. Just nice, pushes some damage. We have Sewer-veillance Cam. This is not that relevant, but we can untap one of our Gene Pollinators or Lady Octopus, so it can also be kind of free, and late game controls a couple of cards. Rust Harvester, just for in matchups where our creature gets removed. This is just a powerful damage burn enabler for board stalls. Tentacles goes well with creature mana 5 or greater, we'll get there later. And Skateboard, same thing really, it goes well with big creatures. What are our payoffs for this? We have Improvised Arsenal, makes one creature really big. This is very nice with the Fugitive Droid, because it can be unblockable if an artifact entered. So a 10/1 unblockable is pretty good. It's pretty good with the Rust Harvester, because it can just dome the opponent for 10. We have Memory Guardian. This is often a cheap artifact, so it can be a 1/3 for flyer. Pretty good with the Dog Tentacles, because it can become a 1/7 7/8 flyer. It's pretty strong. We have 3 Krang Masterminds. Really good artifact payoff. Just draws a couple of cards. It itself has the cranial plating effect. Just really nice. And we have 4 Quantum Riddler. We have a very low curve, as you can see. So Quantum Riddler is a really nice payoff, since we just jump our hands so quickly, it can draw a bunch of cards. Then in the mana base we have some awkwardness, because we have a turn 1 we have a green card, and then after that we have no other green source in the deck, so we have to play 4 Starting Town as a 3-color untap land at turn 1. In the Marvel set we get a Doom Castle, which taps for mana of any color for artifact spells. It's really good in the deck, since the only non-artifact spells in the deck are Lady Octopus, Torture Tower and Quantum Riddler, and those are quite easy to cast with our plenty of blue and red lands. Then move on to Sideboard. We have 1 Annul for artifacts. We have 2 Torture Towers. Torture Tower is really good in this deck. We have 2 main, 2 Sideboard. We have a lot of cheap artifacts we can just bargain away and we won't miss. So this is very often just 1/3 damage, Scry 1. It's pretty good. We have 2 Edge Rovers, small 1 artifacts which are really good against Slick Shot show-off in the current Is It Prowess meta. We have 3 Soulguide Lantern, once again 1 artifact, really good against every graveyard deck, and just triggers our robots and Pinnacle Emissary. 2 Dust Machines for grinding matchups. The first chapter, alright, not that relevant. Second chapter, draws our 2 best artifacts from the graveyard back. Third chapter, make a threat every turn. Pretty strong in the grinding matchups, especially since they don't expect to have to burn enchantment removal. We have 2 Spider Sense. Spider Sense, really good counterspell in this deck, since our Gene Pollinator and Springleaf Drum tap creatures very easily, so we can very easily just web-sling them back and then recast them, so we trigger our Emissary and our robots again. We have 2 Tezzerets. Once again, for the grinding matchup, once we can just an army in a can, we can automate it very easily in this deck, and we have a bunch of 1-mana artifacts to find. And last of all, 1 Wistfulness as artifacts enchantment hate, which has some nice upside in the late game. Also just pretty good with our Springleaf Drum and Gene Pollinator, since we can evoke it and then sacrifice trigger on our stack, we can tap it for mana. That's the deck, let's get into some games. Alright, so it looks like we're on the play with a bit of an awkward hand. These Multiversal Passages shouldn't be in the deck, but I don't have the wild cards for the correct lands yet. So these are awkward if we have to name green. But other than that, it's a pretty decent hand. We can turn 1 go Gene Pollinator, turn 2 Emissary. And we just have to hope we draw something. I think we can keep this. So let's play our Gene Pollinator. And say go. Opponents. Leads on planes, so they're probably not the omniscience their sleeves are saying. They're the aura stack, which sees quite a bit of play in best of 1. This turn we can go Warp Emissary, play Droid, play Guardian. I think that's pretty decent. It's annoying because I would like to. Actually, we can't because of the green source, so I would like to just kill the Scavenger this turn. And next time play a couple of other cards. Let's just go boom. The Gene Pollinator fixes her mana because it can tap the passage for a red. And the steam vents tapped. We say go. So next turn we have the decision if you want to warp Pinnacle Emissary and go right away, or if we just want to hardcast it. I think we want to warp it, since in that case we can develop a 3/4 flying and have some protection. Oh, no, we can't. Stupid Greenland. Alright, well I guess the choice has been made for us. Our creature gets removed with Seam Rip. And they have a survivor. Alright, we draw a second emissary. I think this turn we just play an emissary and say go. Hope it lives for next turn. Since we can only play one other spell, this Multiversal Passage on green is really annoying for us. As I said, these shouldn't be in the deck, but they are for now. They play an Innocence, pretty good grinding card, not that relevant in this matchup. Springleaf Drum is very nice, means we can go Warp Emissary this turn. Play a drum of our Multiversal Passage. We can use the green mana now. Play a Droid. And play a Guardian. And all of a sudden we've developed a lot of power on this board. Let's just attack with our Emissary. I wouldn't mind trading it for these two. They just take the chump block after Innocence, comes back anyway. Alright. And as you see, now we have 10 power in the air, so that's the power of this deck. Let's see what our opponents will do. They're gonna make their blocker flying. Doesn't stop our droids or their memory guarding yet, but they do have the ethereal armor. Pretty annoying. We can block it for days, but alright, they go on the offensive. Alright, we'll just jump it. And they get to exile something from a yard. That's not really relevant, but good for them, I guess. This turn we just go Emissary. And we could go Gene Pollinator here. I would rather keep up the protection mana on our Fugitive Droid. The downside, it can't protect us from a Sheltered by Ghosts, which is their most, or a Seam Rip, which are the best counter spells. So I've actually changed my mind. I think I am gonna play the Gene Pollinator post combat. Because they don't really run a lot of other removal. Sheltered by Ghosts we can't beat anyway. That's the unfortunate part. I mean, we could beat it, but it does give them 16 life turn, which is quite a bit. So they have a land, and they do go in for combat. I don't think white has any trample, so we just jump block it. That doesn't do it. I think there goes game 1 for us. GG's. We'll just get in with everyone. And let's move on to sideboarding. Against this deck and sideboarding, I want Annul to stop their Shelter by Ghosts. I want more cheap removal. I may want Wistfulness to exile their Shelter by Ghosts. And I think that's it. We can take out Sideboard with it. That's kind of tricky because you can't board that much. You need the cheap artifacts and the enablers and the payoffs. It's an A plus B equals C deck, so you can't really board a lot. Sewer-veillance Cam seems really good since it can just stop a huge bubble. I think Tentacles seems kinda slow and awkward. It's a tricky matchup. I think once we get, I think we can get rid of one Krang. It's just a bit slow. And I don't think we need a second Mox Jasper. Doesn't really do a whole lot for us if we don't already have our pieces. Mox Jasper is a card I generally trim a lot with this deck, since it's decent but it's not spectacular. Alright, opponents on the play. Taking a bit to the side, I see. I was wrong, they are back. This hand seems pretty decent. We can go Gene Pollinator on turn 1, Emissary, Arsenal on turn 2, and with a Krang to draw us a couple of cards. We don't have anything to stop their deck, but we have decent curve. Don't think we can mulligan this. That's a good draw. I think we can go turn 1 Torch, turn 2 Warp Emissary, play Gene Pollinator. In that case we use our Emissary for only one droid. I think it's worth it since we can just play it from exile later. Let's play the Torch now to play around the 1 mana Shard Mage's Rescue to protect our creature. They don't appear to have a play, so let's go for a line I talked about earlier. Just warp the Emissary into play and play a Pollinator. I suppose I could have boarded out the Fugitive Droid since there aren't a lot of spells it protects from. Probably should have boarded a couple of those out. We'll board some more out in game 3. For example, it doesn't protect from Seabird. This turn I think we just warp out play out the Emissary. We'll see if they have an answer for it. Doesn't get hit by Seabird, they don't have a creature for sheltered, so seems pretty safe. They could have a Get Lost, but I don't think their deck plays that. They do have a creature. Seems like a pretty mediocre card to me. But I guess I don't have removal spell for it, and I do have the Shelter by Ghosts. It's kind of annoying. Let's just run out Krang this turn. I guess I misstepped in a way. Could have had one more life. Or Steam Vents with that instead of turn 10. If we do shock in the Steam Vents, so we can play whatever we find with the Krang here. And I do think that was a good decision. I don't think we play out the Skateboard here, I just think we keep it as a surprise and annul the Shelter by Ghosts. Let's just attack with both. If they want to trade for the Emissary, that's totally fine with me. Emissary has done its job. They don't, they want to keep their only creature, makes sense. Let's just annul this Shelter by Ghosts. Because it would be devastating if they have a Shelter by Ghosts and an Ethereal Armor. Let's just tap the Pollinator. I think we've got this game locked up. We're gonna have 2 huge attackers this turn in Krang and the Improvised Arsenal. Sewer doesn't do a whole lot right now. Can take a Gene Pollinator, sure, I don't care. But we have 2 huge attackers and we'll tap down one of their blockers and get in for lethal. pretty decent draw as well, not really necessary. Sometimes it's correct to play out your Krang while you already have a Krang as just a draw for. But this time it's not necessary. Let's give our guy power, and GG. I'll see you in round 2. Alright, round number 2 here, and seems like we're on the play. Opening hand has 5 lands, our deck has 90 lands, so this is pretty easy mulligan. Our 6 is a lot better. We have 3 of the 1 mana play cards for free effect. I think we bottom the Gene Pollinator here, since we don't want to put the Multiversal Passage on green. So we can go turn 1 we can go tap Spirebluff Canal into late Octopus, turn 2 Robots, tap this, play Springleaf Drum, although then we can't cast Merry Guardian, so I guess we actually bottom the Lady Octopus. Does give us the awkwardness between Gene Pollinator and the land on green, but it means we can play a turn 2 Merry Guardian. I think that's worth it. Especially since we have 2 mana fixes anyway, so mana problems won't be a huge issue in this hand. But this land would have been a whole lot better as a Castle Doom. Just tap for any mana, any color for every card in our hand. Looks like we're up against Life Gain. It's not a deck that's played a whole lot, but opponents have fun. No, I think things have changed actually. I don't think we play Merry Guardian turn 2 because I would like to equip Doc Ox and Tentacles to it for free. So I think we go Springleaf Drum for Robots, and then we play the Tentacles. Pretty decent board state on turn 2. Let's see what the opponent does. You can see here though that the deck is very weak to fire magic, probably not something we have to worry about against their white deck. But 1 fire magic and all our guys go away. Voice of Victory is pretty decent with the Hinterland Sanctifier, but he won't be able to attack into our Memory Guardian this turn. The haste ability on Ravenous Robots, I think I've used it 1 time in like 30 matches, not really relevant. Fortunately withdrawn another land. So just say go and start being down with a huge 7-8 flyer. Just three attacks and they're deceased. Seems pretty decent. Their temple very good. Innocence also very good. They gain a life, so we no longer have 3 turn clock. Here, let's have some fun. Let's just activate our Ravenous Robots, give our robot haste. Let's go. Alright, so here we have a Pinnacle Emissary. We could just hardcast it. I think I like warping it. So we create a robot and the next turn we can hardcast it. But if we draw a card draw spell next turn, we would have rather just hardcast it. So I think we actually just cast it. Then we just move to combat, hit with the 7-8 flyer. And this is actually a spot where the haste ability of the robots could be useful, because we make 1/1 flying drones and we can just get in with those. But we'll see. Once again, an opponent who could definitely play Shelter by Ghosts. Although I haven't seen a big creature from them yet. They probably have a couple of those life game payoffs, which Johnny's Pride made effect. But we haven't seen those yet. That would be pretty good here, but they do need to find an answer to the Memory Guardian. Worst case scenario, they go an Johnny's Pride main variant, Shelter by Ghosts on it, Exile or Guardian. Johnny, it's a cool card draw engine with Enduring Innocence, but it's not going to beat us, and we can just attack it down next turn if we don't want to just go for face. Which is a decision I will have to make, but future me problem. What do we draw? A Sewer-veillance Cam. That's actually pretty decent here, because it taps 2 things and draws 2 cards. So let's start off with that. Let's tap down the Innocence. And let's activate the cam. Tapping the cam itself to the Gene Pollinator and this random droid. We tap down the Voice of Victory here, Those are pretty decent cards. Our opponent says nice deck. I don't see the fancy mode unfortunately, so let's just take down a Johnny and keep a bunch of blockers. Let's just attack them with the Emissary. They could have another Johnny, I wouldn't really care, they could kill the Emissary, but then Johnny would die as well. It's fine by me. Let's see what they do with their turn. It's a tapped land. It's kind of unfortunate with the Air Temple, although that activation wouldn't have done a whole lot this turn. Second Innocence doesn't really matter. I think they need to stabilize here, not draw more cards. Next turn we go Ravenous Robots into Krang. Gonna draw a whole lot of cards. Tapland is unfortunate. We will play it before we play Krang, because that means Krang draws an extra card. Let's run out Krang, tap our new flying droid, make 3 tokens. We could move over our Tentacles. I don't think that's correct. I think we want to keep them on the 7-8 flyer. And we draw a whole lot more robots. I think we make more tokens now rather than after we play the robots, so you can attack with more creatures next turn. But you could definitely wait. Right. Let's just attack with only our flyers, and next turn, pretty clearly just kill them for lethal. Ravenous Robots can be relevant, very relevant here actually. In my testing it hasn't happened a whole lot, but could definitely be relevant here. Opponent plays Cosmogrant. Good card. Doesn't really help them here. Does draw them 2 cards though. Let's see what other stuff they come up with. Sage of the Skies. Flying blockers, that's pretty decent here. But once again, I don't think we'll save them on this board state. Maybe they survive 1 all attack. I don't know, and I don't really want to do the math, to be honest. Robots, make more tokens. Robots, make more tokens. And I do think this is lethal. Not 100% sure then. Let's find out. Just attack with everything, good luck. Opponent's emoting a bit. I don't have any fancy emotes to emote back, so we'll just say nice to let them see that we appreciate their emotes. Alright, our opponent is thinking a lot about the blocks. I haven't done the math. Good luck, I don't want to do the math. I think they missed blocking Krang, that means they're dead anyway. Alright. Alright, they would have been dead either way. But it would have actually been X-axis, I think. Alright, sideboarding. The structure towers seem really good against their Enduring Innocences. I don't think we really have a whole lot else. I think we just kinda overrun them. That's the game plan. I think Sewer-veillance Cam gonna go. It's not really for this matchup. They don't really have one big thing. They have a whole lot of small creatures which they can block. And I think this will be a bit of a slower game, so we don't need Mox Jasper. That's only for really exploding. Alright, once again an awkward Gene Pollinator hand. It does have a Torture Tower. Pinnacle Emissary, Rust-Headed Harvester, Quantum Riddler. I think we can keep this. It's effectively mulligan to 6. It's alright, it just has a bunch of individually strong cards. I think we just go Steam Events Go here. Then potentially just torch the Sanctifier. If you want to hit us 1 and then play voice, that's totally fine. I think we do just torch it. Alright. That's another Gene Pollinator, that's kind of unfortunate. I think here we warp Pinnacle Emissary, then play the Rust Harvester. Once again, just using the Emissary for 1/1/1. I think it's fine though. Because we kind of redraw it, we only used half a card on this. Rust Harvester also pretty good in these grindy matchups. Alright, we have a Skateboard for our Riddler. That sounds kinda weird, but I don't know, Quantum Riddler wants a Skateboard. I think this turn we go Emissary, Skateboard, and it's really unfortunate we have these Pollinators, because that means Riddler won't draw 2 cards. But I think this is the line. So potentially when we draw land next turn, we can go Quantum Riddler and instantly equip the Skateboard so we can hit in for 5. But it's not really, this game is not going our way. They're now a second Innocence. That's a strong card range. I don't know why they don't attack here. I think they could have just gained 2 life for free. But alright, it's fine with me. We'll warp Riddler here to try to find land. We unfortunately don't. We are only a 19 land deck, of course. But it's kind of unfortunately we've only drawn 2 and 2 Pollinators, but we don't have green mana for them. So this deck definitely has its flaws, as you can see. But every deck has its flaws. Let's just hope we draw a wind source quick. Because this turn just was really weak. We just essentially cycled the Quantum Riddler. That's basically doing nothing in current standard. They play Halia. Alright, once they attack with their Innocences, they gain the 2 life, so they will draw the cards anyway, but I think they have Sage of the Skies. No, wait, they don't have the mana for that. They do have Shelter by Ghosts. That is a card we did anticipate in their deck. Not really doing a whole lot right now. Once again, if we had 1 more mana, we could easily just torch this Halia. I think that's alright. I don't think we can win this game anymore, so we'll go on to game 3. Right, now that we've seen Halia, and not Halia's Shelter by Ghosts, I do think we like Annul. This can counter Shelter by Ghosts and the Enduring Innocence, maybe even Wistfulness. And that means we board out the droids. It's pretty good. Turn 1 Springleaf Drum, turn 2 Robots, keep up Torch Tower. Seems good to me. They don't have 1-drop, we draw Torch Tower in town. Bit awkward of course, but that's fine. We don't want life anyway. They run out the Voice of Victory. Pretty good. We'll go for a Warped Emissary here. Then we'll go for Ravenous Robots. And then we can bargain away one of these tokens. to kill the voice victory. Like I said, Torch really good in this deck, and I think we'll just keep another one on top. But unfortunately that it decided to start the Springleaf Drum. Check your auto tapper. I forgot it, and it cost me 2 damage in this game. They're around a Cosmogran Scene. Unfortunately, Torch Tower doesn't deal with that. That means I think we'll start off by warping in Quantum Riddler to draw 2 cards. Let's see what we find. We find a Gene Pollinator and a Memory Guardian. I think we just run both those out. We misvalue by not having Pinnacle Emissary out first, but I think that's fine. We just make 2 1/1s on each one we cast anyway. And we run out our hand lower for Quantum Riddler when we eventually recast it. And more mana. Yeah, I think that's correct. Deck in for 1. It's kind of unfortunate we can't answer this Cosmogran Scene. I tried to share the deck, just felt too awkward. You just need to be really dense with artifacts. And Torch Tower is just more cheap, more efficient in this deck. Cosmogran Scene is not played a whole lot anyway, so I don't think it's that bad. Torch Tower can really easily answer this during Innocence. I think we just start by going tap the Spirebluff Canal. We just start by going to combat, and we attack with the 1/1s and the Memory Guardian. Whatever 1/1 they block with their Cosmogram, we will bargain away for the Innocence, so we can get a scry 1 out of it. Or actually, we can just... Alright, this works out even better actually. We can just search by one of these robots and then kill the Cosmogrant. Didn't think about that, kind of stumbled into that line, but hey, if it works, it works. We'll just tap a robot here, bargain away a robot, scry, we don't want the lens, and then we'll just run out the Pinnacle Emissary. Make 2 more robots. I think this game looks pretty good for us, especially with the Riddler still on exile. I kind of doubt this encampment is good enough in their deck. I prefer Fountain Port in this slot. We did see them run Fountain Port. I think the 4th Fountain Ports are better than the 1st encampment, and I don't think you can run 9 non-basic lands in your 4 abandoned air temple deck. Right, let's start off with the Riddler. We will tap a robot. Riddler draws us 2 cards. Alright. I don't think there's any reason to shock ourselves here. We'll just play Rust Harvester. And they concede, they've had enough. Alright. Went pretty well. Alright, round 3 we're up against an Oko player. We are on the draw, unfortunately. Let's see. We have no lands, so we will have to mulligan. Our second hand is quite a bit better. We'll just bottom steam vents and see where this goes. Ooh, there are also on Spices Rose and Enigma Jewel. We draw the 3rd Spirebluff Canal. I think we start out by running out Rust Harvester. It's pretty good in the face of removal. They might counter or remove or Ravenous Robots. In that case, Rust Harvester can start growing next turn. Alright, they just kill a Rust Harvester this turn. They could sacrifice their Enigma Jewel for a 3/3. I don't think they will do that. I think when you put the Enigma Jewel in your deck, you're probably pretty bold around it. I do think this Ravenous Robot might not be long for the slot, but maybe they have a second jewel. They could just sacrifice this one to play the second one, since the jewel is legendary. Cryogen Relic, pretty. Pretty good card, I think kind of underplayed right now. And they do sacrifice it to their extruder to draw a card and make it 3-3. Really strong this start. They just essentially played a 2-mana 3-3 which drew 2 cards. That is pretty powerful, of course. This turn we'll go Droid, and keep a Droid up as protection. No attack, of course. So it's funny because we're kind of in an artifact mirror, but our decks are really different. We don't run any Enigma Jewels or Legion Structures or Cryogen Relics, just not our deck. Second Cryogen Relic, really strong, really strong. This Krang has to draw, find us some pretty good cards next turn. Since it won't do well in combat against these two 3-3 golems there. I definitely know that there are golems, of course. Why did you doubt me? They play Supervillain. Alright. It's a sign that they're a bit of a slower deck, as we can see. Supervillain would be horrible in our deck, since we are just all about going fast, going fast, going fast. We are turbo artifacts, they're more controlling artifact deck. Alright, we draw another Steve Lens. We've drawn a lot of lands this game, and all blue-red. Let's just run out our Krang, which will draw us 3 cards, and make a 1-1. There are 2 more lands, alright, that's unfortunate. I do think we're out to Skateboard now, to just make another 1-1 now. We'll tap one of their droids, and just getting with our 2 droids. In hindsight, I shouldn't have played the Skateboard, I should have kept up Fugitive Droid protection, but once again, they have a lot of enter triggers, not spells the droid can counter. These 3 lands are really unfortunate though. Then you play United Battlefront. I loved, ooh, they hit a synthesizer and a weapons manufacturing, that's really strong. I don't think we've seen any other 3-drop artifacts from them yet, so don't think synthesizer is that good in their deck, but we'll see. Oh, I love Dusk Rose Reliquary, played a couple of decks. I do think this game 1 is going to be really difficult to beat, especially since they can just tap their jewel to sacrifice the munitions to the extruder to make a 3-3 which kills another one of my creatures. And we only have 3 lands in hand. If we don't draw something very good next turn, I think we just scoop. Alright, that's, I guess, a divination. Really weird one, but a divination is a divination. Unfortunately, these 1-1s can't really get in, since they can just instant speed make another 3-3. Yes, I would like to tap it. But I don't think we're going to be able to win this game. And we draw 2 more lands. Yeah, that's a concede. Might be a bit of an early concession, but I think we lose about 98% of the games there. And I don't want to waste my time. Let's board in our grinding stuff. And with grinding stuff, I start by, of course, the Artifact Enchantment Hate. I don't know what those white lines were, but alright, funny. And I do think we want to board in our Tezzerets. Our dust machines, they have a lot of removal. I think these just work nice against the removal. Just give us a bunch of threats. Let's board out these torch towers, they seem pretty bad. I don't think we need Sewer-veillance Cam, I don't think we need Skateboard. Last cut. It's probably one of the droids, since they don't have a lot of spells that target. Alright, in game 2 we need to have a bit of a comeback here, if you want to go 3-0 in general. We want to play first, of course. It's a bit of a weird hand, doesn't have any of our mana makers or token makers. These tentacles are pretty bad here, but once we get to Krang, it's 5 mana right now, gets reduced for every artifact we have. I think we can keep this. This Krang will be massive if we resolve it. It might be a mulligan though, might just be a bit too slow. Let's start off with Spirebluff Rust Officer so we can start attacking right away. These tentacles are pretty good in matchup, by the way, since they don't have a lot of removal, which isn't based on just based on damage, and these give 4 toughness. Let's just shock ourselves, run out 2 tentacles, so we can Krang next turn. Probably gonna shock myself on green, since we don't have access to double green yet, which we need for the wistfulness. As long as our Rust Harvester lives this turn, of course. By the way, first time the Spider-Man cards in Arena are actual Spider-Man cards, not through the open paths. Robots is pretty good, not what we need right now, since it dies to weapons manufacturing. Let's just run out Krang, make it a massive 13-12 which draws 3 cards. Pretty good for 4 mana. Although with how fast they are, just kind of OP. No, it's still pretty strong for us. Alright, the Bay we don't care about a whole lot. This turn we have access to 4 mana, so I think it's Emissary, Robots, Guardian. And I think that's gonna be lethal, but I haven't done the math yet. Yeah, it looks like it's X-axis. GG's. No, I would not like to re-equip, I would like to swing for lethal, thank you very much. Alright, I don't think we change anything on the draw on the matchup. Ravenous Robots are very awkward, I don't think we can board them out, realistically, to win the game. Game 3 on the draw again, of course. Beautiful rock, by the way. It's not mine, but I love it. This is certainly ahead. I think it's a bit slow, but I think we can keep on the strength of Dust Machines. Only have Quantum Riddler to go over Tentacles, but I think that's gonna be perfectly fine. That's a nice draw. I do think we can go Tentacles turn 1, so we can go Robot turn 2, Guardian turn 3. If the Robots lives, of course, which is definitely not a guarantee. They don't have anything yet. This is probably getting countered, but I'll run it out anyway, or getting killed somehow. If they want to get lost, that's perfectly fine, of course. Torch, that makes more sense than get lost. A fellow believer in Torch the Tower, I see. Seems really good in their deck. Being able to sacrifice munitions, of course. Thank you very much, and then let's just get in for a decent amount of damage. I do like my hits for 9 when I can get them. I will probably be repurposing Bay for the 1-drop which exiles something. The thing which sacrifices an artifact or a creature as additional cost, but of course they don't have to when they just throw it into play. Destroyed Reliquary, exactly. No kind of ammunition. That's fine. Alright. It's pretty good, pretty good. Those machines doesn't do a whole lot here yet, since they have exiled all of our things. They have systematically removed my whole board in one turn. That's pretty annoying. I think we just go Steam Vents and hard cast Riddler. Riddler also works with Tentacles, of course. So we just draw 2 cards and give them another threat they have to deal with, otherwise they die. Seems good to me. We don't have double green, unfortunately, if we draw a Wisp on us. Could have shocked myself on green maybe, but I don't know if I needed to color mana that turn. They are looking for an out. I probably think this means they don't have more than 2 Disclosed Reliquaries in their deck, otherwise we would have just grabbed another one. This is just a manufacturing and a synthesizer. Or do they have another one? They just knew they had an untap land. Let's see what they have. And I think if they had a reliquary, they would have already used it. So they're frantically looking through their deck list right now. Yep, they're thinking indeed. Let's see if they have anything. Given how long they're thinking, I don't think they do. But that might just be coping. Let's see. Yeah, I think if they had it, they would have already seen it by now. If they want to get tricky, do something instant speed, we can run out the Fugitive Droid and hope they don't know the second ability. A lot of people just glance over this card, don't really read what it does all too well. Right, they are looking at their cards. They do sacrifice some munitions. So they do have another reliquary? No, they grab an Enigma Jewel. I think that's just them conceding. Let's just run out a couple of things. Alright. And then we'll smack them for lethal. GG's. Alright, that's 3-0. Let's head to the wrap-up. Alright, deck wrap-up. I don't think there's a whole lot to say. The deck performed pretty well. We didn't really play against meta decks though, we played against other brews. I have definitely been liking the Krang and the Riddler. I think they are great payoffs. I think Lady Octopus is the card I'm currently most interested in testing. We've seen her once and she was awkward there, since she was an artifact to reduce her affinity, but I think she's been testing good overall. I've been really impressed with the Tentacles. They have been consistently just adding a bunch of damage. I don't think you can really play more than 2, since when you draw too much of them, A, your Springleaf Drums don't work, and B, the more you draw, the less chance you have to draw a big thing, since you've drawn a card which isn't a big thing. But I think overall, deck worked pretty well. Not sure about these Fugitive Droids and the Rust Harvesters, the Sewer-veillance Cam. We can see that in later testing, and for now, really exciting for Castle Doom to come out. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.